without further ado, let's get into my next 5 in my top 100. We're talking 85 through 81. But before I get into my list of my next 5, I like to put out a disclaimer before I talk about these 5 films. All of these films have the movie magic. All of them are really great. They're my favorite films of all time. So they all have the movie magic to me. I'm not going to give an in-depth review on each of them. This is just a list. And also, this is not objective fact. This is not, oh, these are the 100 best films of all time, period. No, they're my 5 favorite films of all time. And they're not my 5, my 100 favorite films of all time. They're the 100 movies that I go back to a lot. So, yeah, this is my opinion. And if you don't like it, fuck off. I don't care. But so let's just get into it. So number 85, we have M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense. Yes, number 85, The Sixth Sense. I mean, we're talking one of the most iconic twists of all time. If you don't know what it is, you've been living under a rock. I don't even know why you're watching this, but M. Night Shyamalan, it's one of the first, I think it is the first feature film of M. Night Shyamalan. It's what put M. Night on the map. However you feel about M. Night Shyamalan, I personally love M. Night Shyamalan. I think his career is incredibly fascinating, and he has made some of my favorite films of all time. And I put out a video on the Unbreakable trilogy and why I love it. It's one of my first episode of my Why I Love series, which is a very it's a very exclusive episode that will only happen very rarely, but it's about certain topics that I'm heavily passionate about, and I was heavily passionate about the Unbreakable trilogy because Unbreakable is very high on this particular top 100 list. So, love M. Night Shyamalan. I love The Sixth Sense. It's one of the best horror films of all time. It also has amazing dramatic elements. I think it's really not underrated. It's not an underrated film. I mean, it has like 86% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 90% audience score. So, it's great. If you're unfamiliar with The Sixth Sense, I mean, it's about, a kid who sees dead people. And Bruce Willis helps him out with that. I don't know why you don't know, but so will this rise or fall? I think, if anything, this movie has a chance to rise because I love M. Night so much. This is not going to drop out of my list. I will say that now. But it's not my favorite. It's my 3rd favorite Shyamalan film of all time. So, yeah. I don't think it's really going to rise too much if it ever does, but it's definitely not falling. So, with that, the next film, number 84, we have Scarface. Take a look at my little friend. Come on. I mean, it's amazing. It's another iconic mob film. I mean, we're talking one of Al Pacino's best performances ever. Iconic lines. Yo, cockroach. Come on now. It's such a great film. And I also saw this at a pretty young age, so there's a lot of nostalgia with this one. Oddly enough, it's very weird because it's such a violent and drug-filled experience, and it's just so insane. It's pure insanity, but I don't know, the time it came with the time period and just the style of the film with the performances and the iconic nature of Scarface, it had to be in here. It had to be in my top 100. It had to be somewhere, and it's number 84. Will this rise ever? Possibly. Will this fall? Probably not. I'm kind of getting into the point where I'm not really. I don't think any movies are really going to be falling anytime soon. So we'll see here. But number 83, one of the more critically acclaimed films and one of the more classic films on here, Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver. It's right, Taxi Driver. Probably, I don't know if I want to say my favorite Robert De Niro performance, but probably my favorite Robert De Niro performance. I think, the only thing that's keeping this one from being higher is just, I don't really rewatch this one as much as the other ones, but it is a very classic film, and it's one of my It's amazing. I mean, Robert De Niro is like I said, probably my favorite Robert De Niro performance, and just a classic Scorsese film. Um, I, it's classic. I mean, a lot of people think that the whole you talking to me, you talking to me, you talking to me, like that whole thing. It's not from Goodfellas. It's not from The Godfather. It's from Taxi Driver. So yeah, get it right, guys. Yeah. Will this ever rise? Probably not, because I don't really rewatch this one a lot, and I don't revisit it as much as a lot of other films on this big list. But yeah, will it fall? Possibly, but I don't think so. I mean, it's such a classic film, and when I'm in the mood to watch Taxi Driver, I have to watch it. But I mean, that is rare. So, moving on to another film that has one of the most rewatchability factors in this list, and that's number 82, Mad Max Fury Road. I think it's probably the most recent release so far in my revealed top 100 list. But I think as soon as I saw this one, I'm like, this is one of my favorite films of all time. I mean, I think if someone would come up to me and be like, Mad Max Fury Road is the best action film of all time, I'd be like, it's not a bad opinion. I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, it is. It's one of the best action films of all time. It's one of the most, awe-inspiring moments in film. Like, there's so many moments while watching that you're just like, how the fuck did you do that? How'd you put that on camera? What? Like, the practicality of the effects in this film are insane. Along with it being the most metal as fuck film I've ever seen. I mean, there's the Doof Warrior, bro. I mean, there's a guy on top of a monster truck playing a guitar that has flames coming out of it. Like, bro, like, you don't get more metal than that. I mean, I think, if anything, this film has a chance to rise in my list. I mean, it is high because I love it so much, but I think it will be higher because it is a recent release. I mean, it came out, 5 years ago? Around 5 years ago. I think it came out in 2015. So it's definitely a lot more recent than some other films on this list. But I mean, there's other films on this list that are higher that are even more recent. But anyway, so the final film that I will be revealing today is number 81, and that is Superbad. One of my best friends' favorite film. Shout out to you, Sam. But yeah, Superbad, number 81. Probably one of the best comedic coming of age stories I've ever seen. And if you're looking back on it, like, some like really big actors are in here, like, Jonah Hill, Michael Cera, Emma Stone, Bill Hader, Seth Rogen, like, some really huge names are in here. Christopher Mintz-Plasse is also, Mick Lovin, an iconic character. I mean, all three of them. It's just an iconic film. And now, I mean, I'm trying to think when it came out. I want to say like 20. Does it give me a year? 2007. Wow. Okay. It's a little bit older than I thought. But yeah, one of the funniest films I've ever seen. And again, one of the most relatable films of all time I've ever seen. But I remember, when I reviewed Big Time Adolescence, I was kind of expecting a little bit more comedy and more relatability, like in Superbad, because it kind of had a Superbad type of feel to it, but none of that Superbad relatability, which kind of plays into the humor, like comedic aspect to it. Like, if it's relatable, it makes it more funny, and that's what Big Time Adolescence didn't have, but this one does, and on every single level, and it has amazing performances that are just hilarious. I mean, yeah. Will this ever rise? Possibly, because it's definitely one of my favorite comedies of all time, and also has a chance to fall because it is a comedy, and comedies are not my favorite genre in film, but because it's really hard to make a really good comedy, and this is a really good comedy. So I think it has more of a chance to rise in my list than fall. But yeah. So yeah, guys, that's my next 5, 85 through 81 in my top 100.